everyone, my name is Denis Trong. I'm from Montreal, Quebec. Even though in Montreal, Quebec, they don't speak with this accent. But I live in Japan now. Anyway, today I talk to you about the jazz guitar harmony. And I want to talk to you about how I learned jazz guitar chords and things like that. The reason behind all this. Because I think I have a little bit of a different approach from kind of the standard way of learning harmony. And I want to explain to you the reason why this came about. And I do have a book on Amazon. If you want to support me, if you want to, if you'd like to support me, because it's very expensive in Japan, I have a book on Amazon. It's for visualizing the fretboard. So part of that was the training that I did for myself, in kind of organic training in order to learn the fretboard better and to connect melody to harmony, so to speak. So check it out, you'll find the links in the description box. Like, subscribe, all that makes a difference. By the way, a female friend of mine, she's on this dating app, and apparently I got recognized there because she posted a picture of me and her at a jazz gig or something. She's a singer. And someone apparently recognized me. Isn't that funny? Believe it or not, the whole reason behind the way I approach harmony and accompaniment, so harmony and accompaniment are kind of connected, right? Is because I had many years of frustration of playing with people who solo very well, amazing soloists, but when it was my turn to solo, they would accompany me quite poorly. And a lot of times these people would say, "Oh, I love playing rhythm, Dennis, I love playing rhythm," yet they would play rhythm very poorly for me. And that'll awaken something in me. Oftentimes we don't know what we don't do well if we're not told. And I realized, there's this saying, treat others the way you would like to be treated, basically. And that really awakened something in me. I wanted to learn to accompany well, and I wanted to get feedback from as many people as possible. So of course there's the whole time feel thing, the rhythm sound thing, but then there's the choice of harmonies. So there are a few people who awakened something in me in the whole gypsy jazz world. There's a guy named Vaval Adler, who was the first to correct some of my harmonic choices in certain songs. He would tell me, listen, the melody goes here, maybe you should play this chord instead. At the end of It Had to Be You. And keeping in mind that harmony is not set in stone. Songs can be harmonized in a number of different ways as long as it fits the melody. But for example, It Had to Be You, at the end I used to do here. I used to practically everyone else does, but actually it makes this chord with the melody, which is not wrong, technically speaking, but certainly not in the old style, if that's what you're going for. It's very modern. But what fits better would be this. Much better. So that awakened something in me, and he would tell me, like, all right, this voicing that you play for A minor, it works. But notice how Django deliberately avoided this chord. This is funny, for those of you who are coming from the gypsy jazz background, often this is the first chord that is taught. And I used to teach this one too, and I still do, but you have to pay attention to something. Django almost never used this chord in his accompaniment if it was the root chord, the root key from the key of A minor. He very rarely used this as an accompanist. Man, I can't talk. It's 7 a.m. I'm waiting for a contractor to come. That's why I'm making this video. He would often use this one instead, or this one. Remember, with Django's handicap, this chord is actually easier for him because this kind of like fused together, so he can just like wriggle it like this. But this requires a little bit more effort, yet he went for this. Likewise, so Vaval telling me that awakened something in me, so I started checking out a lot of recordings. First Django, then a lot of old guitar players to see what they were doing, because I also wanted to play in the style, period, correct interpretations. So if you had a C chord, Django would often play C like this. No, you would assume he would play C like this because of his handicap. It just feels, oh, Django invented new chords because of a handicap. To a certain extent, it's true. But there are recordings, if you check out certain recordings where you can hear clearly, or there are some videos, he may have sometimes played C like this, but more often than not, he played it like this. There's a video and there are pictures of him doing this. Requires more effort. That proved to me that Django was also very harmonically aware. So this basically sent me on a journey to start to listen, to pay attention to what guitar players are doing at the harmonic level, like listen to the chords, not just the soloing, but which chords do they use for accompaniment or for comping, etc. And then there was another guy, Chal Lindberger, who encouraged me to go even further, to really explore all sorts of things that can be done on harmony. He taught me a lot of things with passing chords, voice leading. Well, that was immensely helpful. So the study of harmony did not come from an academic way, even though when I was 15 years old, I did take classes with for 1 year or two, for 2 years I think, or 3, well, quite a while, with this guy who went to Berkeley, and he taught me the whole Berkeley harmony curriculum, with all the technical terms and everything. I did enjoy that class, because that's where I got to understand how chords were formed, the actual names, which came very useful for teaching. But the practical side, though, came from exploration, from listening to my favorite players, to recordings, and from learning lots and lots of songs. In the beginning, my ears were not good, so I did have to use charts, wherever I could find them, or people would show me songs. But then, by learning a bunch of songs, something happened to me. I got pretty good at hearing chords, committing them to memory, and then after checking against recordings to see what the difference is between how I was taught the song or how I learned it from a chart and what the recording was. So I discovered quite a lot of interesting things. And again, this is due to the fact that I was very, very obsessed with being period correct in my interpretation. So if I'm playing in 30 style, the 40 style, then playing bebop, etc., I choose my chords accordingly. I gave a lot of thought to this, all because I was very, very frustrated with how a lot of people were playing rhythm for me. So often, for those of you who are interested in this journey, this is what I suggest. Start learning songs. Use charts if you have to. Use the Iron Pro. It's totally fine. But try to commit them to memory. Try to play these songs regularly. Find people to play the songs with. And then keep your ears and your mind very open and receptive to feedback. Maybe someone will tell you, I don't like those chords. And then consider what they have to say. Remember, harmony is not set in stone. Maybe it's the interpretation that this person wants is different. And as long as it fits the harmony, the melody, it's not incorrect. So keep your mind open to that idea. Try to play with as many good musicians as you can wherever you live, if it's possible. If it's not, I don't know what to say. But that's another thing. Meeting all these people over the years, sometimes they would give me one little advice, and that one advice is worth way more than like 10 lessons with some teacher. In fact, when I first started to learn gypsy jazz, I took lessons with this guy from Paris, not a well-known guy at all. I don't even know if he still plays, but he was from Paris, and he had learned to play rhythm guitar with some gypsy musicians. So he taught me everything he knew. I went to see him every single week for I don't know how many weeks, and the lessons were like this. Like the first song, it would be minor swing actually, and he taught me, all right, play minor swing like this with this chord, which is the chord that Django didn't use. But it's fine, whatever. Then play D minor like this. Then play E7 like this. That was the lesson. That was 1 week's, well, just play these voices. Now you'd think that's a bad lesson, but I think it was worth it. And at that time, his lessons were not expensive, so it was worth it for me. So I commit this to memory. This is minor swing. And at that time, I was already kind of advanced as a musician. I had a lot of knowledge, but still, I was very open-minded. The next week, he taught me to play the E7 instead of like this. He taught me to play it like this. For, I don't know, maybe a month, we only worked on like 10 voicings, but it helped me a lot because it was learning chords in the context of a song. Play like this, play like that, play like that. Then you can play like this. Then we work on other songs. And Charles Lindberger shared with me another story about, I think, his father. Charles was also, when he was very, very young and starting to learn jazz guitar, he was very interested in like advanced things. But I think his dad was always on, don't worry about that. Just like put your fingers here like this and just play the song. That's the song. And then a week later or sometime later, he would see his dad again or someone else like, oh, what you're doing here is very good. But maybe you can consider also this option. And that was how it was with me. It was very, very slow paced, but it quickly snowballed. And I started to understand a whole lot more by doing just one thing, you know, one song, playing one song one way. So there's no shame. Don't be in a hurry to learn all the possible variations off the bat. It's okay to take your time, play one way first. And over the years, when you meet people, be receptive. You know, this does definitely work. Maybe you can consider this one too. Things like that. Take your time, meet people who are more advanced than you and get advice from them in that way. That's what I try to do also with my homestay lessons. I explain things that way. Once you have X number of tunes committed to memory because you play them regularly every single day, hopefully you have people to play them with, something does happen. And I've seen this to be statistically consistent, even with people like myself who in the beginning did not have an ear for harmony. I've been involved with people who, I would not say tone deaf, but whose weakness was ear. Like they couldn't tell that this note was lower than this note. It's like beyond them. I'll tell them, all right, play this, and then we do something like this. I'm not exaggerating, like, but I've given them advice, and they've improved significantly, especially in the area of harmony. When you start to learn songs and you play them, automatically you're forced to listen to what you play, and you quickly get used to the sounds. And it's hard to explain. It's almost magical. It's happening at the subconscious level. You just hear this to this. You're not thinking 1 to 4. It's just part of you. It's as if this part of your forearm had a specific name. I don't know, something. But if you feel an itchy, you never say, oh, I feel itchy in this very specific, you just scratch. So if you hear this, you just know it's this. 1, 2, 4. That's the technical term. So speaking of which, sometimes people also, even though I am very well versed in theory, sometimes people, they try to teach me a song like, oh, okay, go to the flat 3, then to the flat 6, so that makes me very confused. I'd rather people just play for me and then I will catch it. Before I think that, like, if I'm playing Girl from Ipanema on the B section, I'm not thinking 1 to 4 dominant, or I don't know. I don't even know what to call it. I could figure out what to call it if you give me time, because I do have a theory background. But me, it's just, when it goes, the A section is an F, then I know it has to go up F sharp. I have that feeling in my body. And I can do it in any key. So if I have to do this movement, and And I started that in this key now. What is this? C sharp. I without even knowing, I run because it's C sharp. I know where the key of C. So the B part. Why do I play these voices here? Because that's where the melody goes. So studying chords and melody, that's the training that I went through so I could learn to support people better, to support the harmony, I should say harmony, melody better, especially when working with singers. I try to choose voicings that help the singer. I remember I went to see a vocalist play with the guitar. Fantastic guitar player, fantastic musician, but who had not gone through the same training that I did. So the song was Wave, and the melody starts here. So a good note to help the singer with in the beginning is so like. And then. But the guitar player played this. With this note, it's such a strong pull. It's the flat line that's supposed to bring like the singer got screwed. She couldn't find her notes. It's not her fault. It's really hard, man. And there were there were like 2 or 3 faults. She was very embarrassed. I didn't say anything, but actually she thought it was her own weakness. It was not. It was the guitar player. Playing this, man, is such a strong pull. It's as if we were playing Stella by Starlight. The first note is this. And I told the singer, here, find your note. Not easy to find. But if I did this, maybe. Much easier, right? So this heightened sense of awareness is something I work towards, and also the time feel, the groove, the chemistry. Whenever I work with someone new, I have to spend some time to develop a certain amount of chemistry so that I can make them comfortable as an accompanist. And that's often the reason why certain players always want to play with their band. You know, the accompanist is very, very important. It makes such a huge difference. I heard from a famous artist recently, like they started charging double for appearances anywhere in the world if they have to play with local musicians, because they'd rather much play with their band. So when I train myself to be an accompanist in terms of harmony, groove, everything, I want to give guest artists the same feeling as if they were playing with their own band, to be able to learn songs extremely quickly, like extremely quickly, to give them the kind of time feel that they're used to, and the chords. That's the training I went through. It's not easy, you know. Chords is not easy. Like I said, I've met so many fantastic guitar players, soloists, who told me, "Oh, I love rhythm, Dennis. Don't worry, you're gonna. I got you covered." I got you covered, man. I love rhythm. Don't worry. And when these people say things like that, they don't do a good job. You don't know what to say because it's gonna really hurt their feelings. Hurt your feelings. This is something I wish a lot of guitar players would watch this video, because it's something very important to me. The number of people who are completely unaware that when they're playing rhythm for others, it's causing them like not distress, but like oh man, and we just put up with it. And I told myself, I really don't want to be like that kind of person. I'm not trying to toot my horn, but like sometimes I play rhythm for some people. There was one person, a kind of well-known musician here, I play rhythm. It's like, thank you, Dennis. It's like, why? You cannot believe like what I had to go through when I was playing rhythm with these people. When I was playing with these people, they're playing rhythm for me. It was like, all right, fine. But with you, it's just like, I don't even have to think. I got this compliment quite a number of times from a number of different people. That's not to say that I'm a perfect rhythm player. It just means that I'm very receptive, and my feelings will not be hurt if people want to communicate something with me. Because like I said, you have to develop chemistry. Some people prefer X or Y chords, or this kind of groove. Sometimes I have to learn to play ahead of the beat, behind the beat, more like this. And I always have to adapt. I also have to be listening. It's about being hyper sensitive and hyper aware. And so whenever I get compliments like that from all these players, that makes me so freakishly happy. So hopefully what I say here inspires you to be a little bit obsessive with accompaniment, harmony, and all that stuff. One last thing, I did mention this, but this cannot be emphasized enough. I spent so much time with recordings. Like for example, not just in the rhythm section, but again, we're talking. The topic of this video is actually chords and harmony. How I developed my entire chord vocabulary. It didn't come from a study of like, oh, drop 2, drop 3, drop 2 and 4, all that stuff. It just came from listening to records, and I would hear someone play this, let's say, over an A minor. It's like, okay, I can use this over A minor. Now, because I have theory training, I know that this is the third, this is the sixth, this is the root, the fifth. But I just had to memorize this. And whenever there was a minor chord, I would play it in the appropriate key. So, because I knew this was the root, I also knew to associate with A minor here. I talked about that in my harmony book, my visualization book, by the way. So now I have a reference. So that if I'm in E minor, I can do a D minor. And then I realized, oh, the same artist also uses this chord over D. Oh, so how does it work over D? It's just a D7 with a 9. So if I have this, I can play this. Therefore, if I have this, it started this way. And then one day I heard an artist using this shape, but not using this shape. They did it like this. And so I acquired a new chord. Always in context. I learned my harmony in context, through repertoire, through the exploration of recordings. With a guitar in my hand, it's gone to a point where a lot of times, if it's very familiar with me, especially when it comes to gypsy jazz or older styles of jazz, I don't need the guitar in my hand to be able to tell what's going on. And I have proof of this with some of my Homestay students. One Homestay student was working on nuage, and one of the first recordings, and he was asking me what chords Django was playing. I didn't have my guitar in my hand, and I was listening. Oh, okay, sing this chord. So at one point, the B part, when it goes like, then it goes to D minor. Django does this movement. I just grabbed my guitar. This is what he's doing, without even giving much thought. Just, it's not because I have perfect pitch or anything. It's because I've become familiar with the music. Familiarity is the key to improving your ears. Remember earlier I gave you that example, that person who cannot even tell that this is this, it's not this. It is funny, often, I remember with this person, I was like, all right, play these two notes for me, close your eyes. And he would do this. No. No. Skip the one note that was correct. I was like, oh, my mind almost like exploded. How could you miss the one that you went through every single one except for the correct one? But that's fine. But eventually, some of these people, it's not just one person, there's a lot of people, believe me, who did not have good ears in the beginning. But because I taught them familiarity, I taught them repertoire. For example, I would often teach a lick like this if they were coming for gypsy jazz. And because they played this for many years, even though they didn't have good ears, at one point I would show them a variation like this. And guess what? They got the first few notes almost immediately. They got this much. Why? Because they're familiar with it. It's very magical in that way. That's the best kind of ear training you can do, in my opinion, the contextual ear training. So when I can recognize all these fancy chords or just hear all these things, it's not because my ears are good per se, it's because I'm so familiar with the music from having played it for so many years and having committed certain things to memory early on and then repeating it over and over to the point where it's just entered my subconscious. So that's my advice to you. I hope it was helpful. Thank you very much.